In the last couple of years, NFL had no shortage of great players. In fact, the first quarter of the 21st century might as well be the greatest period for the sport yet. Many previously set records have been broken by new young players, and many are in danger of being broken. Also, NFL had become more popular in the past 20 years, and the players are much more eligible for great sponsorship deals. And while all the aforementioned things are astonishing, the most astonishing thing is the battle of the quarterbacks. More specifically, can the two best quarterbacks of today beat the GOAT? In today's video, we'll be looking at Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Tom Brady. Who is the best QB out of the three? Lamar Jackson, early years. Lamar Demetrius Jackson Jr. was born on January 7, 1997, and is the youngest of the bunch. He was born in Pompano Beach, Florida. Lamar wasn't a rich kid. In fact, the neighborhood that he lived in was an economically distressed part of town. Lamar didn't have the happiest of childhoods, as his father, Lamar Demetrius Jackson Sr., died of a heart attack, and his grandma died on the same day. Lamar was 8 then, and his brother's upbringing was laid solely on his mother's arms. We can only assume that Felicia, his mother, did a terrific job. And we wholeheartedly believe that Lamar will continue to make her, his brother, and his late grandma and father proud. Teenage years and the NFL. Before Jackson was a Baltimore Raven, or a Louisville Cardinal, or a Heisman Trophy winner, or a potential NFL MVP, he was a Pompano Cowboy. He was a kid with a tragic past, but he didn't let that determine who he was, and who he will be. Enter an iron-willed mother who never allowed him to ease up. It's impossible to say whether Felicia Jones instilled in her son an obstinate refusal to be held down by the opinions of others, or whether she stoked a fire that already burned within him. What do we know is that on Sunday afternoons from 2 to 6 p.m., Jackson endured every rigor Coach Peanut tossed at him. He ran dozens of sprints and darted through complex agility drills before he was even allowed to think about throwing a football. Many years of sweating constantly have, however, paid themselves off when he decided to try for the NFL. And in 2018, he was in fact drafted. And since then, he managed to rise astonishingly fast. He is currently the 8th best QB of the season, and he'd been playing for less than 4 years. He's also the only QB in the history of the sport that managed to rush 1,000 feet in a season more than once. These are astonishing results for someone who is just 24 years old. There is a bright future ahead of him, and we wholeheartedly wish him the best. Patrick Mahomes. Early years. Patrick Lavon Mahomes II was born on September 17, 1995, in Tyler, Texas. His father, Pat Mahomes, was also a professional football player, and is in many ways his son's stairway to success. However, Pat was nowhere near as successful as his son. Patrick was also not a person of extreme wealth, as he was born in a middle-class family. He, unlike Lamar, didn't have a traumatic childhood event. In fact, quite the opposite. He had all the love and support from both of his parents from the get-go. And, as I've already mentioned, had a professional football player as a father. This proved to be quite useful for his career. Teenage years and the NFL. People believed from the get-go that Mahomes will turn out to be one fantastic NFL player. However, he managed to succeed those expectations, and in fact, he turned out to be not just a good player, but one of the best QBs that ever lived. He is currently on the top of the game as he managed to take over the position of the best quarterback from Tom Brady during the last season. He is also one out of just 3 players in NFL history to throw 50 touchdowns in a single season, and the youngest recipient of the NFL MVP award since Dan Marino in 1984. He led the Chiefs to their first NFL victory in over 50 years, which made him the second youngest NFL quarterback after Ben Roethlisberger to win it. He's also the youngest Super Bowl MVP awardee. And of course, let's not forget in July 2020, the All-Star quarterback added another number 1 in his already impressive repertoire, signing the largest contract in sports history. How much? A well-deserved $503 million for a 10-year contract. Add that to the star player's existing 7-figure salary and it makes you think, how on earth does the 25-year-old spend it? Well, he is the proud owner of the monster of a car that is a Ferrari 812 Superfast. He has a collection of shoes, more than 180 pairs, that are neatly displayed in his showroom in his $2 million mid-century house in the center of Kansas City. And despite all this, he is still one of the most humble people in the NFL. as he gives a lot of his money to charities and is pretty friendly with people in general. It's really hard to believe that this man has already reached the peak of his career and attained this much success at just 25, while still managing to be as natural as ever, and this is only the beginning for him. We wish him the best of luck. Tom Brady, early life. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. was born on August 3, 1977, and is logically the oldest of the bunch. He was born in San Mateo, California, as the only son and fourth child of Galen Patricia Nee Johnson and Thomas Brady Sr. In the 1980s, Brady regularly attended San Francisco 49ers games at Candlestick Park, where he was a fan of quarterback Joe Montana. Brady has called Montana his idol and one of his greatest inspirations. He absolutely adored the sport, and soon enough, he took interest into actually playing it. As a child, Brady attended football camp at the College of San Mateo, where he was taught to throw the football by camp counselor and future NFL QB Tony Graziani. He went to Junipero Serra High School in San Mateo, where he graduated in 1995. Teenage years and the NFL. He went to Junipero Serra High School in San Mateo, where he graduated in 1995. He'd shown great talent for sports, especially football and basketball, and was supported by everybody to pursue his dreams, which he in fact did. He went to the University of Michigan, where he primarily played football, and in the year 2000, 1 year after his graduation, he was finally drafted. You see, back in the day, the process of recruiting was much different during Brady's time, when athletes' rankings were not as prominent. In terms of recruiting in the 2000s, Brady would have been considered a 4-star recruit. In essence, he was a highly rated prospect. This costed him a few precious years compared to the two aforementioned players, Mahomes and Jackson. I mean, Jackson is now the same age as that Brady was when he was drafted. Anyway, Tom rose up pretty quick, and today he holds most of the records out there. Brady has started 344 games, 299 regular season, 45 playoff, and 21 seasons. The most for an NFL quarterback, and he is also the NFL's winningest quarterback. Brady has won 230 regular season games and 34 postseason games for a combined 264 wins. A .767 winning percentage is still being held by Brady, which is the highest among NFL quarterbacks who played 100 games. Also, he is the only quarterback that managed to win 200 regular season games and has more than twice postseason victories than any other QB. He's also the only quarterback that managed to win all 16 regular season games, a feat that he accomplished 14 years ago in 2007. I mean, I could go on for ages and it still won't be enough time to summarize what a great QB Tom Brady is. Even though he's now the second on the list, with Patrick Mahomes being on the top since last year, Tom Brady is still regarded as the greatest of all time, as he has the biggest amount of wins and records out there. And even though his retirement is nearing, as he is in his mid-40s, the guy still has a lot of life and energy for football. So there you have it, we've compared the three, and let me tell you, it definitely isn't easy to pick the best of the bunch. In fact, they're all pretty darn good. Brady is still the GOAT, and it'll take a lot of time for Mahomes and/or Jackson to take over that title. Patrick is the most ambitious and has the brightest future of the two, as he is the current number 1. But Jackson is almost 3 years younger than him, and he managed to be 8th overall QB of the last season, which is not an easy feat. Plus, he is 20 years younger than Brady, which in sports terms is a lot of time. By the time he hits his mid-30s, he'll already have more played seasons than Brady had in his mid-40s. But these are just our speculations, and we'd like to hear yours, so leave them in the comments down below. Of course, right after you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell for future updates. Until next time.